Hey friends, and welcome to another installment of the Recruiter Report. So I wanted to hop on here because I have had the humble blessing of people coming to me and say, tell me how to say this. And typically it was a difficult conversation or a spicy kind of conversation that they wanted to help navigate with intention. I don't know how I developed that skill set. Maybe it's because I'm a super sensitive being and didn't want to hurt other people's feelings. I had an interesting situation previously in my professional career where someone came to me and said, hey, I think that you're being defensive. Ironically, I had an equally spicy response, and my response was, well, how do I reply to that? Because anything I say will be attributed to me being defensive. Further down my career, I had a more appropriate response. Someone came to me and shared that feedback, and I said, ew, I hate that I am modeling behavior that makes you have that perception. And because you have that perception, I would love to work on changing that. I plan on being here for some time, and I hope we get to work together a lot. I would hate for you to have the ick anytime you have to reach out to me because you're guesstimating that you're not going to have a good experience. So there are a couple kind of conversations that are particularly spicy in professional settings that are not a lot of fun. The best one, you getting feedback. Whether you're going in for feedback or not, it can always give you the ick because you're navigating emotions, whether or not there's validity to what the person's saying. And it's quite natural to just be like a little sensitive or offended, even if it's constructive feedback. So here's how I think you take the weight out of it. Someone comes to you and offers maybe what might be ad hoc feedback. Naturally, our fight or flight goes into play. Your heart starts racing. You're listening to what the person's saying, but then you want to react. Here's a call out. Focus on breathing. Just listen. Hear all the core details. Listen to the context. And really, all you're doing and your only response in this instance is, thank you. I appreciate that. Give yourself some time to buy some breaths, to compose yourself. And if it's more detailed feedback, offer to the person, I appreciate the feedback. If you don't mind, I'd love to digest that. Give yourself a night to sleep on it. Give yourself the space to really and truly hear what the person said. Maybe you take notes or document based on what the conversation. What you're trying to do is hear them. That's your only job in that instance. Just hear them. You take the evening to think on it. Maybe you have a response or reaction. Schedule some time to discuss it in more detail. And your only goal from that conversation in that follow-up conversation is like, what does right look like? If there was feedback about something that you could do better, differently, or those types of things, document it. Ask them for tips or tricks. How do you approach this project? How do you approach this task? We'll love your help. Again, I don't like the term assuming positive intent because it's not our job to get in other people's minds, but it is our job to level ourselves up professionally. And how we do that is by having assertive, direct, and emotionally intelligent conversations. So your follow-up is really to get the person, make them a part of the solution. If there was something that you faltered on, then really taking the time to understand how you correct it, how do you pivot and get better. And since they were the person so kind or who had the cojones to offer that feedback, then make them a part of the solution. Now, we're human. We make mistakes. We fall short. We misalign on things. We didn't understand. We got something wrong. So in this instance, I want to talk about how you make a mistake. Here's the easiest thing to do. Own it. I know I was supposed to send out that email yesterday evening. I apologize. I totally meant to send it out. and it must have just slipped my mind. I had a reminder to myself. I must have missed the reminder. I am so sorry. If it's okay, I'm going to go ahead and push that email out first thing. I meant to send it yesterday evening, but I'm pushing it out the first thing this morning. Is that okay? This talk track, again, is about taking ownership. It's very easy to want to get defensive and the shoulda, woulda, couldas of it all. But you didn't. You said you would do something. You didn't do it. You promised something and you didn't come through. It didn't happen. And the first thing, while it's human nature to want to get into the excuse and the defensiveness of it all, the first thing to do is to own it. Make it be known that it didn't happen. And then what you're inviting people to do is to talk about an alternative solution and that you will take ownership around rectifying it. Again, the idea isn't that you're making excuses or you're overly tied to that. It's really saying, hey, I want to correct this for us. And I am an adult. I can be accountable. I can be trusted. I have credibility. But let me go ahead and push it out first thing this morning. I'm sorry. Again, ownership. That's the name of the game when you make a mistake. And again, talking about and coming up with ways in which to rectify it. So let's role play with that. So let's role play what speaking with intention when giving feedback can look like. So here's a scenario. Lisa gave a great presentation, but when you looked around the room, some of the stakeholders in the audience were getting lost because Lisa was throwing out a lot of numbers and losing people in reference to the numbers. She had a ton of charts and graphs in her presentation, and you could see people's eyes kind of glazing over or kind of glossing over when she talked about some of those numbers and data points. But the data points that Lisa had were so crucial in terms of them buying into taking this direction on this project. So you want Lisa to be able to make the connection between the data and the impact to the stakeholders that were in the audience. So it's a little after presentation and you come by Lisa's office, and here's what the talk track could look like. Hey, Lisa, you have a couple minutes? Assuming Lisa says yes. Lisa, great presentation today. Want us to give you some feedback if you're open to it. Good job on the presentation. I love how you included all of the data points. One of the things that I think that you might have lost some people on in reference to the data points was you talked about the data and you were using a lot of numbers and graphs and charts, which was super helpful to visualize it, but you maybe didn't take a beat to dial into the impact. So it's one thing to say like, hey, we lost 30% of our customers because of this. But another thing to say like, hey, that 30% of our customers is this much revenue, or it means that we have to work this much harder on marketing. So just taking a beat to not just talk about the numbers themselves and that's kind of the highlights, but to kind of dig maybe a layer deeper would make it more impactful. When I was sitting in the presentation, people saw the numbers, and they kind of, it looked like glazed over them, didn't really internalize them. So maybe in future presentations and from a content perspective, not just including the charts and graphs, but maybe some types of summaries or kind of highlights of what those numbers mean might be really helpful for future presentations. See. So again, that's very different than saying, Lisa, you bored people with that presentation. There were so many numbers in there, people got bored and kind of dialed out. Maybe that is what happened, but again, your intention is you're saying to yourself, what is your intention? In this context, it's to make Lisa better and the company because she's citing something that's going to be a business decision and trying to create buy-in for other stakeholders. The idea is, again, that you are giving space and talking with care to the person so they can hear it. You're being specific in terms of the feedback that you're giving back. And then you're also giving them a particular solution or right way to do things. This idea in terms of speaking with intention is less about schmoozing or kissing butt or any of those types of things, but it's more so about building your brand as a person who speaks with care, eloquence, and intention. Being strategic in the way that you speak to people is not about having word salad, using big words. It's speaking with empathy, which is a big thing in reference to building relationships, trust, credibility, compassion with the people that you work with. It might seem like a little thing, but you're taking a beat to be thoughtful in the words and decisions that you're choosing. You're thinking about whether you should say it at all. In some instances, a simple thank you or acknowledgement is enough to say exactly what you need to say. You don't always have to pull someone aside. You don't always have to have a minute. You don't always have to give feedback or follow up on feedback. But again, let's navigate our professional settings with care. And it's really not just care for other people, but even care for ourselves. As some of these conversations can get particularly emotional, when you feel your heart start to race, maybe your palms get a little sweaty, taking a minute to breathe and ask yourself and the other person, what is the intention? If you don't understand it, it's okay to say thank you and leave it at that, just being polite and courteous. If you understand it and you think, I don't know that these are good intentions, it's okay to say thank you and go on about your business. Again, work and professional settings can be particularly heated contexts. It isn't for us to lose our peace at our job. It's for us to be able to maintain and build more peace and balance throughout our lives, not just at work, but so we don't have to bring any of that mess and stress home. Hope this was helpful. Thank you guys for always watching, listening, and supporting. I appreciate you. It's the Recruiter Report.